Okay, so this project is replacing the condenser, accumulator slash dryer, some miscellaneous O-rings on a 2004 Impala. We're going to start by taking this bracket off, removing the battery, removing the air box, this bracket. I believe I have to disconnect these wishbones to get the radiator out, and the condenser is in front of it. So let's get started here. I'll first start with the battery. Okay, so that brace is off. I'm going to take this one off. These are 13 millimeter. Get to the air box and get that out of the way. Okay, so these are 8 millimeter. Negative first and positive. This bolt is the hold down for the battery. It's down below there. It's also a 13, and I had to use a longer extension to get down to it. Okay, on the motor mounts, wishbones, two 13s here, and a 13 and a 13 down there. 15 open end wrench and a 15 socket. I was able to push this down, slide this out, and I'm just going to push these up and out of the way. Do the second one next. Okay, so I just wanted to see a little better. So there's 3 push pins, 2 bigger ones on the end and a smaller one in the middle, so I can at least see what I'm doing down there when I eventually get to that. So I'm not sure if you had to take this off, but I am. Okay, so from underneath the car I took off this airfoil, air dam I guess it's called. There's 5 10 millimeter bolts that hold it in place. I just felt it was in the way, just needed to see more. Again, not sure that you need to take this off, but I did. Okay, so now I'm disconnecting the fans. It's this type of clip. You pull this back. I was able to get a small screwdriver in there and pull it out. And then down below is some type of it's a plastic part that gets pushed in there. So just make a note, there's the other fan connection over here. And I'm going to try and pry this out and pry that one out. Okay, so this is what that looks like. It was pushed inside there. I was able to use this and it came out pretty easy. Okay, so I'm going to try and remove the fans separately from the radiator. So there's a bolt down here, 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter here, and this isn't some kind of bracket that hooks onto the radiator. I'm soaking this right now because it doesn't want to come out easily. And then there's another bolt underneath this hose holding the fan on, so I'm going to go ahead and take this hose off now. I'm also going to take off this return line overfill here and go from there. Okay, so to get this, I got this clamp and this hose is going to come off. I'm just going to go ahead and take the air box off. I know it has to come out. So we got 2 8 millimeter bolts here that'll separate. Got 2 clips here. I'm going to take off this sensor here, and then this should pop out of there, so I can get rid of this. And I believe the computer's inside here. I'm going to leave that in this half. And I'll take this radiator hose off and then this return line over here off. Okay, note to self, I loosened this clamp up and was able to separate this piece out first. And then I can take out the air filter with one hand. And now I can pry this off, which I don't even think I need to. I'll just leave that on. I'm going to take a look. Okay, so then this piece can come out. And that's the computer. So I think that's all I needed to do, if that even made a difference. Okay, so the fans are out, and to get the fan out, you got two of these on each side, 10 millimeter bolt. There's a 10 millimeter bolt in the middle, and there's a 10 millimeter bolt down here, and then another one of these isolators over here. Had to take the hose off here, various clips that clip to the fan, and then we had to undo the transmission lines. So there's a collar, you pull the black collar back first, and then there's this clip in there, and you get a pick in there and you work it off, and then you just lightly pull these collar lines out. To get the fan out, I got this end out first and then lifted it out that way. So I'm calling it a night, and I got that last hose down there. I'll get another catch pan for the radiator fluid, and then I believe that should be it. Okay, so I disconnected the lower radiator hose and caught it in a catch can bucket. It's not very old, I may reuse it. I'm back to this side. I'm going to replace the accumulator, which is down here, and took this nut off here. There's these black connectors. There's one up here I need to get. So I had to look up online, but a guy said to use one of these upholstery tools. So yeah, you put this in here and push it. Okay, that's hard to do with one hand. Let me set this down. And that opens right up. So I'll do these couple connections and try and lift this radiator and condenser out. Okay, so I removed the nut that was on here. There was one of those collars on here which I removed, and then there's this black clip here. Hard to see, but you just take there it is. You just take a screwdriver and pry in there, and that opens that up. There was a 10 millimeter bolt holding the bracket to the body for the accumulator, and then there was a collar up here, plastic collar, and then I can see that this already is beginning to separate. That was after taking those black clips off that I just showed you. Okay, so the accumulator is separated there. I already pulled out the pressure line that was in here. It's separated here, so now I can lift the accumulator out. Be careful I don't hit the radiator. This is hard to do without. I'm gonna have to put the camera down. Take a picture of how this is routed so I know. Okay, note to self how this is coming out of here. I'm behind those two loomed wires, and I'm just going to lift it up and out. So when I go back in, I want to be right there. And I do want to be underneath that with the accumulator. I want to be underneath this here with the hose. Okay, so I'm trying to lift the radiator and condenser out at the same time, and this gooseneck was hitting this box, so I slid the computer out of the lower box, and this is going to just come right out, and I'll just leave this lay up here for now. Hope that gives me enough room to yank this thing out of here. Okay, so it's finally out. Was a struggle. On this side, the rubber and the collar came out from the vehicle. On the driver's side, it was basically rusted, fused together, but I was able to pull out the plastic peg, it looks like. So the radiator looks good to me. It's probably the original. It's never cross my fingers, never leaked, so I'm going to reuse that. I'm going to figure out how to disconnect the two. Looks like a couple clips here, two on the other side, and this is where my leak was down here, as you can see. So back down to the vehicle. On this side, everything came out of the hole, that oval hole there. On this side, which is very rusty, that stayed intact, but I think it probably was made to stay intact, and then the peg pulls out of there. But it was a struggle. I soaked it with PB Blaster, scraped some stuff away. So now I got to clean all this up or coat it with something, I guess. So it's turning into a bigger project than I thought, but we'll handle it. Okay, so I got the new accumulator somewhat in place. I'm going to make the connection here. I'm going to leave the cap on that until I clean all this mess up here. 10mm bolt holding it on there. Okay, so I'm spraying this radiator support Rust-Oleum Rust Performer. It doesn't have to look super pretty, and just kind of want to stop some of it. Okay, so I put these two together. I set it up on a cardboard box, so I wasn't gonna mess anything up. And then this clip gets mounted in here just like that, and then there's the bolt, one of those 10mm bolts in the center. That's how that all ties together in the center there. This condenser is made by TYC. I'll post the part number in the link. And this is the OEM radiator. I'm taking a chance, but it looked good to me. Okay, so I put the radiator and condenser in. I started at the bottom with the transmission line, and then I moved up to the radiator hose, and then up top to this transmission line. Then I came across on this side and connected the accumulator with the collar. I connected this part with a nut and this plastic collar, and then there's going to be a bolt that goes through. Okay, so the fans are in. Made the mistake and I had these connected, this and the accumulator down below. They have to be disconnected to get the fans in. And another hint is, on this side down here where my finger is, if you can see it, there's a clip that the fan has to slide into a slot on the radiator. I couldn't get everything lined up, and it's because that was not happening. So once that slides into place, all these bolt holes line up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those are 10mm. I'll tighten those up. I made the fan connections. I had marked them, passenger and driver sides. They're connected. Down below here is a transmission clip. I'll clip those in place. And I gotta connect this here to the overflow. So we're getting close. Okay, so I got the battery back in. I filled up the radiator with a combination of Dexcool and water. Got the air box back together. It has a K&N filter. I cleaned and oiled it. Painting the braces and the wishbones and the brackets. They're drying. They should be ready soon. Okay, so I got the bracket back on. That's a 15mm up top, 2 14s here. I got this bracket on here. These are 14mm. And I also, while I was at it, painted the wishbone 15mm up here and 15mm here. Also did the other side there. Last thing I need to do is to top off while the car's running, and I broke this bleeder screw loose. I should see bubbles coming out of there also. Okay, so the car's up to temp and I got the heat on. and so the thermostat open because I got good heat now. So I'm good. I'm gonna check the level in the radiator cap once it cools down, but the temperature kind of stabled out here, so everything, no leaks, we're good to go. So thanks for watching my video. This is Mr. Bill, how to install a condenser and accumulator on a 2000 to 2005 Chevy Impala.